5 o'clock in the morning. The sky is still dark. On a damp working class street in Britain, a man stands below someone as window holding a long wooden pole. He raises it. Tap tap upstairs. A worker wakes up. If he does not get out of bed, he might be late. And in the industrial age, being late was not a small problem. The factory would not wait. The machines would not wait. The train would not wait. And the boss would not wait either. For a worker living on daily wages, being late could mean losing pay, losing half a day's work, or even losing the job completely. So waking up on time was not just a habit, it was survival. This man outside the window was not a thief. He was not playing a prank. This was a real job. Before alarm clocks became common, some people were paid to wake other people up. They were called knocker-ups, professional human alarm clocks. Today, most of us hate our phone alarm. It is loud. It is annoying. It always seems to ring at the exact moment we want to sleep, just a little longer. But at least we can choose when it rings. We can set it for 6:30, then 6:35, then 6:40, and then hit snooze with our eyes still closed. But for most of human history, people had no phone alarms, no digital beeps, no bedside clock, no personal device that could wake them at an exact minute. And yet, people still had to wake up. Farmers had to go to the fields. Merchants had to open their shops. Sailors had to change watch. Soldiers had to assemble. Monks had to pray in the middle of the night. Workers had to reach the factory on time. So here's the question. Before alarm clocks, who woke people up? The first thing that woke humans was not a machine. It was the sky. For much of history, morning was not a number, not 6 o'clock, not 7 o'clock, not a line of digits on a screen. Morning was light. The horizon grew pale. Birds began to call. The darkness inside the house slowly disappeared, and the human body responded. In farming societies, that was often enough. When the sun rose, people went to the fields. When the sun climbed higher, work continued. When the sun went down, the day came to an end. People did not live by the minute. They lived by light, seasons, and weather. But the sun was not a reliable boss. In winter, it rose late. On cloudy days, the light was unclear. If you had to leave before dawn, the sun was useless. And if you lived in a narrow city street, you might not even see the horizon. So humans needed another kind of alarm sound. In villages, one of the most familiar morning sounds was the rooster. A rooster was not trying to help humans get to work. It did not understand 5:30 in the morning, but its body responded to light and rhythm. And it often called out near dawn. For people in the past, that was enough. One rooster call was like a message to the whole village. Morning is coming. The fire needs to be started again. Water needs to be carried. Animals need to be fed. The day's work is about to begin. In a world without alarm clocks, a rooster was not just a bird. It was the village broadcast system. But roosters were not perfect. They could crow too early. They could crow at the wrong time. Your home might not have one, or you might simply sleep through it. So as villages became towns, and towns became cities, humans needed a louder sound. Bells today, time is in your pocket. But in the Middle Ages, time was on the tower. You did not always need to know the exact minute. You just needed to hear the bell. When the bell rang, the city moved. The gate opened. The market began. The monks prayed. The merchants set up their stalls. Workers stepped into the street. It was not your private morning. It was an entire community sharing one giant machine of time. But what if you could not wait for the whole city to wake up? What if you were a soldier on watch, a sailor at sea, a merchant leaving before dawn, a monk who had to rise for prayers in the middle of the night? Then you needed something more private, something more precise. So humans began using strange little devices to manufacture morning. One of them was the candle. Imagine a dark room. A candle has marks cut into its side. As it burns, each mark shows that a certain amount of time has passed. Some people even placed small metal pins into the candle. The flame slowly moves downward. The wax melts. Eventually, the flame reaches the pin. The pin falls. It hits a metal plate below. Ting, the sound is small, but in a silent room, it might be enough to pull someone out of sleep. This was not a modern alarm clock, but it already had the shadow of one. No batteries, no ringtone, no screen. Only flame, wax, metal, and gravity. Humans had built a tiny machine that could make a sound at some point in the future. It was clever, and it was fragile. A draft could disturb the flame. The candle might burn unevenly. The room might be too noisy, and not everyone could afford or use such a device. So for many people, the most reliable alarm was not a tool. It was another person. That is where the knocker up comes in. By the industrial age, time had become harsher. On a farm, waking up late might mean doing less work. But in a factory, waking up late could mean being late. Machines did not wait. Assembly lines did not wait. Train schedules did not wait. And wage books did not wait. But many workers still could not afford a reliable alarm clock. So a strange profession appeared, early in the morning, a knocker. Up would walk through the streets. He knew who needed to wake up. He knew which window belonged to which worker. He knew who had the early shift, who had to reach the mill, who had to catch the first train. Then he raised his pole and tapped the glass. Tap, tap, tap. Some used short sticks to knock on doors. Some used long bamboo poles to reach second or third floor windows. Some even used pea shooters or small objects to hit the glass. And they did not always just knock once and leave. Some waited until the customer actually woke up, because that was the service. You paid them. They dragged you out of sleep. Picture it. The street is still dark. The air is cold and wet. A person in a heavy coat walks from window to window with a long pole. Inside those windows are workers terrified of oversleeping. This was not romantic. This was the morning of the industrial age. When cities began to run on factories, wages, and shifts, waking up was no longer natural. Waking up became discipline. And this is what the modern alarm clock truly changed. It did not just change who woke you up. It changed your relationship with time. At first, nature woke you, sunlight, roosters, dawn. Then the community woke you, bell towers, drums, horns, monasteries. Then industrial society woke you, factory bells, train schedules, bosses. And the person tapping on your window today, you are woken by a small machine that belongs to you. It does not care whether the sun has risen. It does not care whether the rooster has crowed. It does not care whether the city bell has rung. It does not care whether anyone else is awake. It only obeys the time you set the night before. That sounds ordinary. But it is important. It means time moved from the sky, to the village, to the church, to the factory, and finally into your pocket. You can decide when to wake up, when to work, when to catch a flight, when to go to the gym, when to begin the day. Of course, that freedom has a cost. Modern humans have the most accurate alarms in history, and maybe the most painful mornings in history. We can set one alarm, or 5, 6:30, 6:35, 6:45, and then turn them off again and again with our eyes closed. People in the past feared that no one would wake them. Modern people fear something different, that they have been woken up, and still do not want to get out of bed. So when we ask, before alarm clocks, who woke people up, the answer is not one person, and not one object. It was the whole world: sunlight, rooster, church bell, water drop, melting wax, factory bell, and the knock on the window. All of human history, as wake-up calls, were eventually compressed into one small sound. Sunlight, rooster, church bell, water drop, melting wax, factory bell, and the knock on the window, all compressed into that little buzzing box beside your bed. A modern alarm clock may look like a tiny feature inside your phone, but it carries many older things inside it. It takes the sleeping body and hands it back to the daylight. It pulls one person back into the rhythm of society. So tomorrow morning, when your alarm rings and you reach over to shut it off, remember this: the reason that sound is so annoying is because it is so exact. And in a world without it, you might not just lose 5 minutes of sleep. You might lose a day's wages, miss a ship, miss a prayer, miss a trade, or never know when you are supposed to wake up at all. The modern alarm does not just wake you up. It wakes up the modern person inside a world ruled by time.